streamer and former Counter-Strike champion is currently getting called out for scamming skin traders out of tens of thousands of dollars. And these skin traders are his fans. So that's what makes it so messed up, because this guy is essentially known as like one of the best players of Counter-Strike. At least he was at a point of time. And then of course, to make things worse, instead of paying people back, he opened Photoshop, because there's nothing that shows trust than sending over fake trade screenshots. And again, this guy isn't some like new person on the scene. He's arguably a legend. The guy built his entire career playing Counter-Strike professionally, won multiple championships, has sponsorships, and is currently streaming for thousands of viewers. Yet somehow he's being accused of photoshopping screenshots and stringing people along for months just to avoid paying them back. And it's just so wild, because the dude went from holding up trophies to now fake screenshots in just a few years. But this all started with one of the traders in the Counter-Strike community who decided to air everything out on Twitter with receipts, and it's safe to say no one saw this coming. So first and foremost, meet Jackie Yip, who most people know as Stewie2K. And if you've been anywhere near the Counter-Strike scene over the past decade, you've probably heard of his name, because he was a top-tier CSGO professional player. He competed in major tournaments around the world and genuinely made a name for himself in the competitive scene. And I feel like the peak of his career was probably somewhere around 2017 through 2019. But these days, however, he's mostly stepped back from competing and started streaming regularly, creating content and occasionally hinting at maybe returning to pro play in Counter-Strike 2. But for the most part, his focus has shifted away from tournaments. But due to his success through sponsorships, especially those related to skins and gambling websites, streaming deals, and other brand partnerships, it was safe to say that everyone was caught off guard with this. It was like the whole Counter-Strike community had that like Squid Games moment where he saw someone that he thought was extremely well off, and they were like, wait, you're here? Because on October 27, 2025, a trader in the CS community named Matau had finally had enough of staying quiet, because Matau is apparently a really well-established figure in the Counter-Strike trading scene. He helps people buy and sell skins, and he's built up this solid reputation over the years as someone who's trustworthy and knows what he's doing. So when he posted a massive thread on Twitter, we're talking about, hundreds of screenshots spread across dozens of tweets, all documenting his interaction with Stewie and laying out why he believes he's owed a substantial amount of money, people listened. Because the thread showed everything: transaction records, direct messages, payment confirmations, everything that you could imagine. And it's safe to say the story that emerged from these screenshots was quite concerning. Because according to what Matau shared, this whole thing started pretty straightforward. Stewie needed help selling CSGO skins. Matau was in the business of facilitating those kind of transactions, which is converting CSGO skins into actual currency, whether it's through cash or crypto. Stewie would then provide skins, Matau would handle the sale, and the money would change hands. Everyone was happy. But then the dynamic started to shift in a way that, should have probably raised some red flags. But often when you deal with people who are, at least who you think are extremely wealthy, you let things that should cause a red flag just slide temporarily until suddenly that red flag is just waving in your face and you're like, okay, yeah, something's definitely wrong. Because Stewie suddenly began asking if Matau could pay him up front before actually providing the skins. And his reasoning for this was the items were stuck on a trade ban or trade lock. And that could be a real reason, because sometimes you can't immediately move certain skins and you have to wait 7 days for the skins to be tradable again. So the pitch was essentially, hey, I've got this skin that'll be tradable in 7 days. Can you front me the cash now? And I'll send you when Steam allows me to. And Matau agreed to this arrangement multiple times, because the early instances apparently worked out. Stewie did eventually come through the skins, or they figured out some kind of resolution, which probably gave Matau confidence that this was a sustainable way to work together. Except the requests kept getting bigger. And that's how the Ponzi started. I don't know if a Ponzi is actually going on, but it doesn't look good. So what started as a few $1,000s here and there eventually escalated to Stewie asking for nearly $12,000 up front at one point. That particular request seems like it didn't pan out the way Stewie wanted. But the pattern was already established, increasingly large amounts being requested in advance, with promises of delivery or repayment coming later. And as time went on, Stewie started reaching out about needing help with what he described as more serious personal issues. And things eventually reached a point where Matau claims he loaned out over $25,000 in total. And beyond the straight-up cash loans, there were also numerous skins that Matau had already paid for, but allegedly never received. So we're talking about money going out and nothing coming back in return, stacking up over time. And that's where things really started falling apart for Stewie. So instead of Matau receiving his money back or receiving the skins he paid for, Matau ended up with only delays and excuses. And here, the screenshots show message after message of Stewie saying variations of, hey, I'll have it to you soon, or there's an issue on my end, or I just need a little bit more time. Essentially, he's just delaying and stretching out the repayment process by weeks. And one of the biggest allegations that came out is that Stewie allegedly sent Photoshop screenshots to explain why certain skins couldn't be delivered. And that's bad because, in my opinion, that's fraud, even though you're dealing with digital skins, because technically those skins have monetary value, which just shows the importance of, hey, if you ever get a little bit of money, never let any of your friends come to you as a payday lender. Point them to an actual payday lender, even though they're awful and they're predatory. You don't want to be owed money, especially money that could not be paid back to you. And also in Stewie's case, this wouldn't even be a payday lender. This would be like a small business loan or something like that, because Stewie should be having a lot of money coming in, so it should not be very hard for him to get some sort of business loan if he actually needed a business loan for his business, or a personal loan at decent interest rates. He should be able to have that because he's most likely been taking out a regular paycheck from his own business throughout the years and years he's been playing Counter-Strike professionally. This shouldn't be that hard for him to get. So I do want to correct myself in saying payday loan, because most likely the payday loan option wouldn't be the correct situation for him. Avoid those like the plague, because, you know, some of those will give you like a 300% interest rate, which is just, that should be illegal. But hey, here we are. My personal rule on this is I never lend out more money than I'm completely fine losing. But according to Mattel, Stewie would send images supposedly showing that trade bots had reverse transactions, basically claiming that the trades got automatically canceled and the skins were no longer accessible. The problem is that Mattel had already paid for these items up front. So if they didn't get reversed, that meant the money was gone and the product never showed up. So that's a big problem here. So he at least should be getting a refund. But then the cycle would just repeat itself with new excuses and new delays. So after dealing this for weeks, Mattel finally decided to put everything on blast publicly. I see his frustration here. This is someone who's allegedly owed $25,000, and he's been getting the runaround for an extended period of time, and he's dealing with a person who in theory has the means to make things right, but just isn't doing it. So when a professional gamer who's made millions throughout his career suddenly cannot come back with the money to pay back loans, people naturally start asking questions. Like, one of the biggest questions that came up is whether Stewie actually had a gambling problem, because there's a lot of evidence that points to it. Now, I can't say anything for sure, but it doesn't look good. And this also isn't coming out of nowhere, because the Counter-Strike community and gambling have a long, complicated relationship. And there's been a whole lot of speculation about various pros having issues with it over the years. And this isn't only with pro players. I would say many people who grew up playing Counter-Strike Go probably had their first gambling experiences through Counter-Strike and through the Counter-Strike skins. I, for one, definitely did. And thankfully, I was just a dumb kid who lost a couple $100 and was like, wow, that hurt. That really hurt. And since then, I've stayed away from it. The only time I will ever gamble is if I physically go and fly all the way out to a casino. I don't have casinos in my state. So if I go all the way out to a casino and I have a certain set of money that I'm like, okay, this is my entertainment money. That's it. I don't want to do any more than that, because it's scary. And especially when you do a little bit of research on what happens to gambling addicts, it's not pretty. But in Stewie's case, he has previously admitted to a gambling past, saying that he once won $100,000 and claimed he stopped after that big win.
Like, I've won crazy amounts and that I've lost that crazy amount. Bro, I've gambled ever since I started during that time in COVID, bro, when I won the 100 grand. Ever since I won the 100 grand, I never went on that side again. Bro, there's no justice, man. He doesn't want to be scammed. But how is he scammed?
But when someone who's made millions is now allegedly struggling to repay debts, it's hard to question whether he truly stopped or not, especially considering he was playing slots, which is like the worst of all of it. So when all of this started to blow up, Stewie eventually addressed it during one of his streams. His take was basically that he was meeting everything Mattel asked for, and he fully planned to pay him back.
What's going on? Bro, this dude's tripping. He offered help. I'm meeting everything he asked. How did you let it get this bad, bro? What are you talking about, bro? You know what's crazy, bro? I don't really care. I'm gonna pay him back before the first. You crazy, bro.
But there's some larger situation going on that he didn't want to discuss publicly. Here he described it as something that's bigger than just him and involves circumstances not even in the States, which sure could be legitimate explanation, but it's also extremely vague. It doesn't really give anyone any concrete information of what's going on.
In any situation where someone's helping you, there are parts that I don't want to share. I don't even have knowledge myself of everything, so I can't speak on it. I just know it's a bigger case than me. Literally not even in the States, man. Like, it's a case that's not even in the States. Prove it. I'm not gambling the money. That's easy. Bro, how do you want me to prove that? I'm not gambling the money, bro.
Then later on in another stream, and we'll get into more details soon, he also mentioned that he's been helping his parents deal with some financial problems, and that a lot of his income has been going towards supporting them as they get closer to retirement.
Throughout these last 2 years, I've been helping my parents with their own financial battles and they're coming at an old age where they're gonna retire soon. A lot of my time and money has only been going to them and focused on them. Like all this like speculation and all these accusations, for me, you can keep accusing me of those things, whatever. As long as I know what I'm doing and what I'm working towards, that's totally fine. And I just want to keep my family's business private, and that's honestly all I ask out of all of this. Like, they can say whatever they want about me. You can keep your eyes on me, keep track of where I send my stuff. Like, I really don't care because I know what I'm working towards.
I feel like you just said a whole lot there without saying anything at all. I'm trying to understand here, because if it was really his parents, like, he wouldn't be going to these random, or well, I don't know. In my head, at least, if it was something going on with his parents and he really needed to help his parents, he wouldn't be playing funny games with random skin traders he doesn't know personally. Like, there's so many better avenues for capital than going and scheming people in your community. I'm saying scheming because he faked screenshots. There's just something not right about this. And a couple days after the initial tweets, Stewie went on to address things more directly on OniPixel's stream. And this is where Stewie actually admitted that, yeah, he did actually Photoshop some of those screenshots. His explanation was he made a mistake and he panicked in the moment, and that he's not obviously good at this kind of stuff since he doesn't normally sell skins consistently. And I mean, come on, that's still not an excuse to fake a screenshot. Like, just be honest of what's going on. Like, this doesn't make sense.
I made a mistake. I shouldn't have edited the pictures, and I panicked in the moment. This isn't something that, you know, I'm obviously good at. Like, I don't really sell skins all the time. I'm sponsored by these gambling sponsors. I don't really even gamble like that. The last time I gambled was that picture, like actual my own money, and I don't really deposit anything.
Like, regardless of how you tried to frame it, admitting that you sent someone a fake screenshot lying when you have their money is awful. And while this whole situation was playing out in public, other people started coming out of the woodwork with their own stories, because several other traders alleged that Stewie had pulled similar moves on them, requesting money or items up front and then having difficulty following through on his side of things. So this sounds like he was kind of running a little bit of a Ponzi, just taking money in. Sounds a lot like, what was his name? Slicker from back in the day, who also had a massive gambling problem, who kept on asking people to borrow money. But Stewie's responses to all these additional claims were usually something like, oh, that person already has been paid, or I wasn't aware of that, which doesn't sound legitimate at all. Also, one story that really picked up steam involved XQC, you know, one of the biggest Twitch streamers ever. Apparently XQC, he loaned Stewie some skins back at IEM Dallas last year, so Stewie could wear them while he was competing in a tournament. And according to XQC, some of those skins never actually made it back to him.
I gave him some skins so he could wear them during the major, and there was a few missing, I think 1 or 2.
So Stewie's version is a little bit different. He claims that XQC has actually sent trade offers to retrieve them ages ago, and Stewie accepted those trades. So maybe XQC just forgot or lost track of what happened. Kind of doubtful though, because these are pretty expensive skins. You would kind of know what you own and what you're lending away. So I don't know what's going on there. He also pointed out that if it was a genuinely serious issue, XQC would have probably reached out directly, since they supposedly have that kind of relationship. But going back to my rule, don't lend away more than what you're ready to lose. If I lend someone some money and they just kind of dodge and ignore me and they don't give it back, that's just them kind of leaving my life. I don't need to hassle them. They know that they wronged me, and clearly they don't deserve to be in your life if they take advantage of you like that. So most likely that's what happened with XQC, and why he doesn't want to spend the energy on chasing down those skins. Because for XQC, that could very well just be a way to get rid of people in his life.
If X would be in the call right now, he would be probably joking about it. Maybe I'm wrong about this.
I don't think he cares about it. I don't think he cares about it like that, in all honesty. Like, I feel like we have a relationship close enough where if it was really a big deal, he can come to me and it'll be compensated for. You have to understand that XQC is hard to reach. Like, I don't have conversations with him. He came to me and offered the skins, and he came back looking for them, and he made both offers.
He made the offers and he forgot to wear the skins in your inventory?
So I was going on stage, he sent the offer. I don't follow him, he doesn't follow me, and it kind of came out of nowhere. It caught me by surprise. I just accepted it because, you know, it's XQC. So XQC sent the offer, I accepted it, and he sent someone to take his skins back, and I just accepted it.
But it still became a part of the larger conversation about how Stewie handles borrowed items and money. There's actually some pretty funny detail here as well, because someone dug up an old post from Skinbid over a year ago ago about how XQC was lending Stewie skins before that tournament. And in the comments, someone had literally written exit scam as a joke. Apparently that was kind of true. Who knows though? But this is where the situation gets even more complicated, because it turns out Mattel wasn't the only person that came forward with the allegations about unpaid loans. There's another YouTuber and content creator by the name of Juicy, who runs a CSGO skin website, and he posted his own video claiming that Stewie had borrowed over $32,000 from him and still hadn't paid him back. So now, at least at the time, there was over $50,000 that had been loaned out to Stewie that essentially had been exit scammed. And according to Juicy, the whole thing started with Stewie reached out looking for some help with what seemed like a straightforward business arrangement. Stewie was apparently having issues with a previous sponsor and needed money quickly. He mentioned needing to pay people who worked for him and had trouble accessing crypto. So again, this could be true, but why is he not going for a business loan? Like, come on! Unless his intention is actually to not pay these people back. Because, I mean, if you get a business loan and you don't pay them back, you're cooked. You're still cooked reputational-wise by doing this in the Counter-Strike community, but still, I guess he could try to sleaze his way out of paying people back, but still, like, come on.
So the first red flag was him asking to be paid a bunch of money in crypto, a bunch of money in skin giveaways up front. He was saying about how his previous sponsor wasn't treating him right and that he wanted all the money up front. He needs crypto as soon as possible. He's saying he needs to pay people that work for him and he's behind and he's having trouble accessing crypto. So I'm saying you have debts, and if you lose the money you're playing with, you can't repay your debts. Hence why I just want to know how much you need to pay off your debts. Anyways, we go on. I say, how much money do you need? And you'll repay me in 45 days. 30K be too much. Total is 37.2. He's still not getting the picture. I would honestly prefer to work for it. You can't work for it. If you lose the money that you're opening cases with, you can't pay your debts. This should have been the first red flag, which it was. And
Juicy also described the situation where Stewie offered to sell him certain skins to get more money. But when Juicy reached out to other traders in the community to verify things, he discovered that at least one of these skins were already promised to someone else who was also waiting to get paid. So obviously that's not good at all. It sounds a lot like a Ponzi.
He says, would you be open to loaning me skins still? I'm like, no, not until I get my loans back. And then here he goes, can I sell you a couple skins maybe? What skins? They are yours? And this is where it fully imploded. And my friend sent me this M9 Ruby of what he owed me until he cash or I sell it. Boom. This is where he up, because guess what? Then I messaged my trader friend who coincidentally also got over by Stewie. His friend's wire didn't come, delayed by the bank, and today he should have sent the M9 Ruby for him, but nothing. Also, he owes money to the other trader too. Stewie ended up sending that M9 Ruby back, but only after I started unraveling his plot. 9:17, and then he sent the Ruby back on about 9:20. And so this is where the story gets interesting, because right here I knew that we were getting scammed.
And to him, at least, this is where things started looking less like someone was going through a rough patch and more like a pattern. And what really caught Juicy's attention was when he reached out to Mo TV, another well-known figure in the CSGO community. He discovered that Mo had loaned Stewie money just around the same time. And according to Juicy, Mo had loaned Stewie almost $20,000 just a week before Juicy did. So that brings the total of 25 plus 32 equals 57 plus 20. 77. Yep, still above 70 grand. We're still above 70 grand. I had to fact check myself. It was actually 77 grand. So we're pretty spot on there.
The same day I go to Mo TV, 9:17, and I said, are you close with Stewie? I loaned him 32.5K and he's asking for even more money now. Boom! The plot thickens. When did you loan him money? I loaned him almost 20K last week. What did he tell you he needed the money for? I said, we got immediately. This is a classic case of a Ponzi scheme. He's maybe sent some money people back, but the people that he repays are only so he can keep scamming other people. It's to save his public image so he can continue to use whatever image he has left to scam more innocent people. Mo is actually being a good guy in this situation. He says send back others first. You know, he'll take his money last. So he's putting himself at the bottom of the repayment pyramid. You know, he's got it like that. I sent more proof to Mo and he said, yeah, I don't care what he says. He's probably going to borrow money from someone else to pay you back. I considered him a friend, but can't help him anymore. This is the nail in the coffin. This is the final plot.
And at this point, the situation started looking more and more concerning, because if Stewie was actually borrowing large amounts of money from multiple people simultaneously without disclosing that he had already had outstanding debts, and he was also promising the same skins to people he was owing money to, that's bad. That's a different story than someone who was dealing with a temporary cash flow problem. Because during OniPixel's interview with Stewie, he was asked, hey, do you owe anyone else money? And he was like, No, it was just Mattel. But based on what Juicy and others have said, that doesn't line up with the full picture at all. So throughout all of this, Stewie maintained during his streams that he was going to pay everyone back and that people just needed to be patient. He kept referencing family issues and circumstances he couldn't discuss publicly and insisted that he had the money coming and he would settle his debts. And he stated the deadline was November 1st for paying back Mattel. And on November 3rd, 2025, just a couple days after that deadline, Mattel actually did post an update on Twitter, claiming that he had been paid back. Mattel also acknowledged that he'd received the money and issued a public apology for how the situation had played out. So at least in Mattel's case, Stewie did eventually come through and settle that particular debt, even if it took public pressure and several weeks of delays to make that happen. But the question is, how long will it take to pay the others back, and if he actually does owe the others money? Juicy made it very clear in his video that he didn't even expect to see the money back anytime soon, and he wanted to warn others in the community about what happened to him. Realistically, the best case scenario is that everyone just gets their money back, but even if Stewie eventually settles all of his debts and pays everyone back in full, the fact that he admitted to creating fake screenshots to delay payments, that will be a part of his reputation moving forward. There is no real way around that. So yeah, I guess that's where things stand out with the Stewie 2K situation. And honestly, this is just very unfortunate to see. But other than that, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed this video breaking down the entire situation, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.